Hi, this is Steven from Just Got Played, and today we are going to talk a little bit about Pilgrim by Nick Case from A-Muse-Ment and Spielworxx. So if you saw this on the channel before, I did an overview video, maybe I can link it right here, of how to play the game using a prototype copy, but this is actually finally delivered from the GameFound campaign. And if you were in that crowdfunding campaign, you know that 2 copies, the cost of shipping 2 copies was the same as 1. So some people got 2 copies. Look for one of these 2 copies in the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund Charity Auction, which is starting on BoardGameGeek here on March 16th. All right, so here we go. All right, so yeah, we saw there 1 to 4 players, 90 plus minutes. When I first played this, took a lot more than 90 minutes, I think. Ages 12 and up. It is sort of a heavy game. There's a lot going on here. Welcome to England in the 14th century. You are an abbess or abbot managing your abbey in the 14th century. So let's get this open and take a look at what the components look like. Again, like I said, I made that other video a while ago, but that was just a prototype. So now we get to see finally what do we got here? All right, well, this is the English and German version, so I'll set the German rules aside and just take a look at the English ones. Interesting finish on this. Okay, so there you go. Welcome to England in the 14th century. Table of contents. List of the game components. Doesn't have pictures to go with the components, which isn't great, but probably, yeah, here they go in the setup diagram. As you go through all the steps, it's got the numbers telling you. So that's a setup for 3 players. All right. So that's one way you can map things. All right. So setup, taking a turn. You're going to get, I think it was 26 turns in the game. So basically you take 1 action during the turn. You're going to activate one of these duty tiles most likely. So there's the description of all of those. We'll look at those as they come up. Got activities. You're placing roads and shrines. Those are ways to score points. You've got your alms table. All the different building types that are set up around the board, in-game scoring, and there's a little score sheet, and there's a scoring example, and a quote from Chaucer. All right, I did read the Canterbury Tales a long time ago. Maybe not as long ago as it was published or anything, but still old. All right, solo play. All right, I have never and never will play against the Abbot. All right, but it is there if you're interested, and place to record solo results, I guess, and credits. All right, nice. Seems like a pretty good rule book. Now, what are these? That also looks like it is in German, right? German, English. All right, I'm going to assume that all 4 of these are the same, and so we'll just take a look at one of these. So I guess this goes to each player. Tells you the order of play. And then, all right, yeah, this is nice because the buildings, they just have some symbols and stuff on them. Actually, these buildings don't say anything, I don't think, necessarily. So it talks about what the buildings do and the duty tiles as well. There's symbology, but it explains the symbology, so that's nice. And then in-game scoring, which, of course, that's what you care about when you're playing, right? Because you got to score points. All right, what do we got in here? I got a bunch of components. So let's take a look at those. All right, so we've got some different player colors. Yep. And then I think you use if you don't have 4 players, I think you use the white pieces as sort of like a dummy to take up spaces. All right, well, let's pick one of these colors, yellow, and open it, and I'll set the others aside. So a lot of these are acolytes, I would assume. Well, I guess they're not. Maybe at some point they're serfs, and then they become acolytes. Yeah, there's a lot of those because those are super important. It's got this Mancala style thing where you grab groups of abbots, move around, dropping them, and trigger one of those locations. So you can see this is just a fistful of abbots, but it's nice that one side is, I don't know, screen printed, I guess. If I had to guess, yeah. All right. There you go. What is this, like a scoring marker? Maybe it was for one of the tracks, maybe the piety track or whatever that was called. I can't remember the names of everything, but they're stuck together. Oh, no, they're not. Okay, good. Oh, a little bit of yellow came off there. Oh, well, that doesn't bother me at all. Red, yellow, white, blue. All right, cool. Cubes. So these are grain. And it looks like there's nothing special here. I mean, they are larger than your everyday normal cubes, but they are just yellow cubes to represent grain. All right, and then a stone, I think was the other resource. So you got stone cubes. Might find stone in a cube. I'm not sure if I've ever found grain in a cube. All right. And what do we got? Here's the first player marker. Interesting thing, whoever is highest on the piety track gets to decide who is the first player every round, because you may not want to go first. You might want to let somebody else go first and have them get their stuff out of your way or something. All right, and then we have a die here. Honestly, I don't remember what the die is for. Maybe it's for solo. And this is the merchant or something. I'm not sure if I remember what that is. I think it's called the merchant token. And then there's this, this goes around the board to tell you which buildings are activated. So I don't know if that ship token is ship round token. Yeah, I'm looking at the rules. It looks like there's something called a ship round token. So that must be it. All right, there's a bag to hold a bunch of stuff. Cool. And I always like it when games include lots of bags. So there's a lot in here. Probably more than I need, actually, if I'm guessing. So that is awesome. Hey, these are all wrapped together. Let me get that out and cut this open. And let's see what all is in here. It seems like that's the board right here on the top. Right, so you've got a hexagonal shaped board. Clear some space here, and it's not a small board if I remember properly. So hopefully I can get it all on the camera. Actually, it's not that huge. I guess it's just when you put all the duty tiles and everything else around it. So yeah, there you go. I guess I should point it north. All right. So you can see there's the board there. All right. And it has an interesting flow to it. You can see there's arrows here. So when you're taking your acolytes out and around, they can go out and around, but they can come in here and they can come in here, but they can go out and out that way. So that's interesting. All right, what other things do we have here? Got this stack of stuff. All right, well, we got a couple of duty tiles here and some coins. All right, and some different markers. All right, I don't exactly remember what those markers were for. These are for you, to put on there and build. So this is if you wanted to, build across a part of the water or whatever with a bridge. I guess you could do that. So you've got some roads that are bridges, like that. Whatever. There we go. And you've got some that are just, angled or whatever. And then you've got these shrines. So you build to these shrines to score some points. All right, so that's kind of what a shrine looks like. I think they all look the same. The question mark and the one, those are just costs, and that's a question mark related to how far, how many shrines along the path there are. All right, so let's look at this duty tile, though. This is clerical. All right. All right. Looks like, so these things that are pluses, they're just telling you that if you have those specific buildings or people on these specialty areas, that they can be augmented by that. But this is get a coin, and this is I don't know, does this get piety, I guess, for going there? I don't quite remember what all those are. Here's the construct tile, which is pretty interesting. It lets you build one of the buildings that's available around the board, and or build a road. And then if you have the road engineer, one of those specialists, you can build another section of road. So that's pretty cool. All right, so that was that first board. Let me pull out the next board. It's got pretty much the same stuff. You just got some different roads. And then let's talk about what are the two different, there's 8 of these duty tiles, which are really, the actions. So there's give alms. So you can move up the alms track by giving grain or paying money, or you could donate a building. So you can flip over a building. And there's a spot down here for the tithe. Well, maybe that's what those tokens were. Let me take a look at one of these tokens. Is this a tithe token? I flip it over. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, but these tie tokens, they get allocated at the start of the game. So there's randomization about where these end up around the board and what tithe is on them. So that's nice. You know, you're playing, there's some differences. So ordination, I haven't got to the player boards yet, but the serfs have to move into the abbey to become acolytes, and then they have to move from the abbey into the city before you can start using them around here. And so basically you're paying grain, wheat, whatever it is, to be able to move workers. So that's what this ordination tile does. And all these tiles, you can do these actions like 1 or 2 times, depending. It's actually 3 things. If you have the most, not the most, if you have more acolytes than anybody else on the tile, you get a 2 duty. If you have the same as somebody else, and you guys both have the most or whatever, then you get to do it once. If you have less than anybody else, you get a duty value of 1 and you have to pay. All right, so what's next? There's taxation. Taxation is interesting. It lets you take 1 of any resource and then any other duty tile that you have a majority on. On one of those, you can choose to collect whatever the tithe is. And again, you get a 1 or a 2, I guess, depending on whether you're the majority or tied for majority. All right, and what do we got here? Produce. All right, so this allows you to generate a stone or a grain. I think when you produce at a duty level of 2, you can only take 2 of one or the other. You can take 1 of each. And if you do choose one of them and you have these associated things, you could potentially get, 3 or 4. So that's pretty useful, particularly early on in the game, I have to say. There was construction earlier, which allows you to build buildings and roads. Here's just build roads. So this is lets you build road sections, and then this is also how you build a shrine, right? And so shrines can score you a bunch of points. That's what that tile does. There's allocation. I don't remember what allocation does. Is this what allows you to move your workers onto the specialty things on your player board? Well, we'll see that here more in a second. All right. There's these cardinal favors. So when you build shrines that are a certain length of road away, then you get the cardinal favor associated with that. There's the different pilgrimage sites that you can build to. Ultimately, on the way there, you can put down shrines, and then you can put an acolyte there, and you collect points for doing that. So got more of those things. All right. Then we've got this, which is, we've got a piety track and an alms track. So this is the alms track, and you can move up on the track using some of those duty tiles that we talked about. And then each round, if you are in the lead, you can send one of your acolytes here so there's 4 rounds total. I don't know if I'm using the turns right, rounds versus turns, etc. But when basically everybody's done taking their actions, you see who is highest on this track, and then they can put a acolyte here who's gone forever, but then you can score a bunch of points for those acolytes at the end of the game. As you move up on this, you can get certain rewards too. So that's nice. Nice quality cardboard too, I think. All right, let me pull out this piety track, which is like a puzzle piece board, which I have to say these days I greatly prefer to a fold-out board, which never seems to lay flat. So this is the piety track. So I mentioned you can go up and down on this piety track, and you get points at the end of the game, depending on where you are. And also whoever's, highest on this track decides who goes first each round. All right, cool. And then there's just a bunch more punch outs here. All right. Finally, let's get to one of the player boards. Oh, and then there's a bunch of these buildings. So let's see what the buildings are. All right. So again, it doesn't really tell you what these buildings do, which is why you have that cheat sheet. Just look at the back side there, because if you donate these, this is the point value when you donate them. When you donate them, you don't get to use them anymore, though. So if you have built one of these buildings, you take your player board and it takes up one of these spaces. And, so at some point in the game, you can just donate it and get the points for that. But now you've lost that ability. All right. So I also mentioned the capability of specialists. So you have these people, these serfs in the village, and you send them to the abbey to become acolytes, and then you put them out on the board, and then they move around, right? Okay. But the other place, from the abbey, they can go here. So for instance, the fields. So when I'm doing produce and I decide to collect grain, I can get 1 extra grain if I have somebody there, right? And then you can eventually move these back if you want to, etc. But it's nice to have them here, but then you've got less acolytes out of the board, and so it's just an interesting decision in this game what to make. All right, so this is where you store your grain. There's a limit how much you can store, and your stone money is unlimited. And as I said, you put buildings and maybe the cardinal favors. One other thing goes down here, which takes up some space, so you can run out, I guess. And then you have all these different specialists and your acolytes. So that's what this individual board is for. All right, so I assume there's one for each. Yep. So each one of these boards has a bunch of buildings. So I'll just show some of the Inquisition is a building. Nice. Nobody expects the Inquisition. All right. This isn't the English. This isn't the Spanish expedition or Inquisition. Sorry. All right. So there's another board, and they do have different background colors down here to tell you whose board this is. So there's red and blue as well, right? So that's nice little touch. All right, let's look at some more of these buildings. All right, there you go. Grain store. Hey, maybe that lets you store extra grain. And then, of course, the blue player. All right, and then a bunch more of these buildings. All right, there you go. Well, it looks like that is everything that comes with Pilgrim. So anyway, if you have any questions about the game, I have played it, and I did make that overview video, so you can go check that out. Or you can just come into our Discord channel and ask me there. So if you look in the description of this video, there's a link to our Discord channel. You can also leave a comment here on YouTube if you have a question. That's fine. Link to all our social media is down there as well. So if you want to follow us that way. But I'd appreciate it if you like the video, subscribe to our channel, share the video. All those things help us out, and I do appreciate it. But until the next time, thanks for joining me.